guess I can use that in my opening bit.
I got unopening bit. I just remembered.
All right, well, I'll start with my my silly purchase, and you can do yours.
Oh, your Dig Dug?
Yeah, my Dig Dug.
Yeah, okay.
The Dig's Dug. It's Thursday, May 29th, 2025. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight we are talking about houseplants. So when we were at PAX, I think we talked about it when we did the PAX show, but the brief story is we're walking around, doing our thing, exploring PAX East, and we see someone's like, hey, you want to check out my thing? And we look, and what their thing is an array of immaculately detailed quarter-scale arcade machines that appeared playable. And I was going to ignore this, but Scott noticed before I did that of the 4 machines they had lined up, one of them was Dig Dug. I think the only arcade machines that loom larger in my life than Dig Dug are probably Ridge Racer 1, DDR, and Rampart.
Is DDR, Rampart?
Maybe Mortal Kombat 2 or 3. 3 was like the last big arcade game. The Initial D machine doesn't because I've never played it enough.
2 Championship Edition.
I played that more. I played Street Fighter more on the SNES though.
X-Men with the 2 screens.
Yeah. I used to play a lot of Paperboy, that with the old, the weird controller that was shaped like a bike handlebar.
Time Crisis.
I didn't play a ton of Time Crisis. That was more your game.
Time Crisis 2.
But Dig Dug's big. So this little arcade cabinet was actually really impressive for what it is compared to what I expected. Because there's a lot of small versions of arcade machines you can buy from shitware places that I won't name, like Amazon, but even shittier places also have these things. And they're all just various shades of crap stuck together with MAME and like an LCD screen or something. This one is just MAME with an LCD screen, but it is an accurate, licensed 1/4 scale replica of the original Dig Dug machine, and the level of detail is high. The fidelity of the machine itself, the cabinet, is high, and it is just perfect Dig Dug.
Even if you emulate, it's also perfect Dig Dug.
It is, but you don't get if you emulate a 1/4 scale physical representation of the machine, including the joystick in the middle, the 2 pump buttons, the marquee. It even lights up. It's got the quarter slots. So I decided arbitrarily, partly because I just got promoted at work, unrelated to anything else, again, to get this Dig Dug machine. So I got it, and it's currently in the living room, and it's a cool thing to have in a living room. But now I got to decide, am I going to just leave it in my living room, which is the thing I could do? Unlike a full-size arcade machine, quarter size fits very nicely into a queen's apartment. Like it's on the shelf under the TV. It doesn't even get in the way of the TV because I mounted the TV at the correct height. Or do I just put it on my desk at work and let that be a thing? Be the guy who has the Dig Dug machine on his desk at work. So we'll see. But I'm really impressed with this thing. And I'm not going to say, oh, you should go buy it, because it's not cheap. But it's also...
I just have, first of all, I can emulate Dig Dug at any number of...
Oh, yeah, you don't buy a thing like this to play Dig Dug.
If it can run Doom, it can run Dig Dug, right? But it's like I have Namco Classics on the Switch, which includes a Dig Dug.
I also have that.
Which is also the same, identical to arcade original Dig Dug.
You only buy something like this to have out as the arcade cabinet equivalent of a coffee table book.
Yeah, you know what the problem is the only thing I would want one, air hockey, but besides air hockey and DDR.
Yeah.
I would want one and only one pinball machine, not a crazy person with 100 pinball machines.
Yep.
And it would be difficult to choose the machine, but I could eventually choose one. The problem is a small pinball machine is no good. It has to be the normal size.
Because a 1/4 replica of a Dig Dug machine, you get the full experience other than that ozone burning smell that an arcade machine has, because it looks nice. You get the experience. But a 1/4 size arcade or a pinball machine, that ball's not heavy enough. It's not the same game.
That's worthless. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought this was cool. That's what I waste my money on when I have too much money.
So, in other news, a while back, I stopped basically using various meal kits and instead just find a recipe and cook something.
I highly recommend the Milk Street cookbooks.
Yeah. But the point is, I realize one thing about the meal kit services that I did not appreciate so much is that whatever goods and bads they have, and we've talked about them in the past, they don't fuck up on serving sizes, right? It's like when they say it's 2 servings, it's 2 servings. When they say it's 4, it's 4. A lot of recipes I'm cooking, and it's like, I cook it, and it's like they said this was going to be like 4 to 6, and it's like 3. And then, but yesterday I had a different problem. It said 4 to 6. It's at least, I'd say 6 to 8. It didn't.
When you raised this outside of GeekNights, my first thought was, well, is there some sort of standard for this? Like caterers have a kind of a standard for it. Maybe that is assuming that is the sole dish and like not accounting for like a normal meal having sides or anything. But no, looking around on recipes online, serving size is just made up bullshit.
Yeah, it's like, and the problem is not only that, the worst crime, the recipe was like, oh yeah, just grab a Dutch oven, and I'm like, okay, I have a Dutch, and then it's like I put the food in, and I'm like, this ain't big enough. Yeah, it's like, this ain't gonna fit, and I had to get a bigger pot, and even when I got the bigger pot, it still wasn't big enough.
Whoa, because my biggest pot is not that big.
I have an enormous pot I could have gotten, but rather than go and get it, I just used a pot that was it was sufficient to contain the food, but not really. It would have been better to use an even bigger one. Yeah. And I'm like, man, you really effed this up.
Yeah, it's funny when I use some.
It's surprising, even from like these top. I'm not going to like some like user generated recipe sites. I'm going to like New York Times Cooking and Bon Appetits and cooking magazines, real cooking places that have real recipes from experts, and some of them really just fuck up serving sizes.
Yes, I increasingly like if I'm cooking something at this point, I either am using a generic recipe from a classic cookbook and then modifying it to make my dish. Like if I make chili, there's a basic recipe for how to make chili, but then like make a lot of variation. Or honestly, Milk Street is just great, but I've noticed I never look at serving size. What I only look at is the set of ingredients that are suggested, and I just sort of infer how much food that will be from the list of ingredients. And that never fails me.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah. Or I'm making chili where make as much as possible. Who cares? You can freeze all the extra.
Sure, but I'm saying is that the meal services, that's one thing that is a benefit of them.
Yep.
And their recipes.
Purple Carrot is a meal for exactly 2 people that will be perfectly satisfying for one night.
Exactly.
So a little bit of news. So if you haven't noticed, in fascist hell world, one of the things that the Trump administration is doing is going after universities for a bunch of reasons, between made-up accusations of anti-Semitism to just not wanting them to have foreign students to mad that the university made fun of them in some indirect or made-up capacity.
It's really funny that, like, back in the day, the Republicans were like, usually, the ones in politics at least, right? And, their voters were like the college-educated people, and then it flipped, and now the voters for Democrats are college-educated people. Yeah. And yet, if you look at, Republican, like, at least still, even today, a lot of Republican politicians went to places like Harvard and Yale. Yeah. Right?
Like, did you learn nothing?
Right? J.D. Vance went to Yale. It's like these people, it's like they went there, they got a degree, and then they're mad. It's like, yeah, I could complain about RIT if I wanted to, but I wouldn't, given power, try to destroy them.
Yeah, if anything, I actually have mostly positive sentiment on RIT, other than how they
what happened to these people when they were at college? Did they?
I actually have a theory, and I think it's the same reason why.
People who did all the drinking and partying and not the learning.
I think it's even worse than that. It's the same reason why people like Elon Musk will say they like something like the Culture Series or Murderbot, because they only interact with both learning and entertainment uncritically and unthinkingly. They never understand what any media is actually about. These are the people who will be an evil, far right-wing conservative and yet will listen to Rage Against the Machine and think, that's a pretty cool band. I am also against the machine.
Well, that has nothing to, I don't think, I mean, that's a true thing.
But I
don't
think they do
it
the
has
same
anything-
thing with academia. I think they learn about history and they basically think, yeah, you know, those Nazis really had something going. Like, huh.
But I mean, that I don't think it's the same. I mean, yeah, it's true that they look at art and don't understand it, but that's not has nothing to do with this university thing. The reason that is because they look through the world as if they are the only person who exists in it, right?
Well, I think
everything is just a mirror of themselves. They can never see anything from the perspective or even imagine that there is something else other than themselves. Right?
Though the university thing, I think, has a secondary aspect that's more practical from an evil standpoint of, I think all conservatives recognize that the better educated people are, broadly they stop being super right-wing, and the people who stay super right-wing are the exception, not the rule. So,
well, also it's just that there's, you know, most people are not college educated in the world, even in the US or even in very well-off countries. And so it's like, yeah, you want to appeal to, and it's like to those people to get more votes and attack, you know, and those people are, you know, just like the same dynamic you have in school where like, you know, bullies hating on the smart kids. Right.
I had a kid literally in middle school.
In
middle school, a kid punched me because he saw that I got a good grade on a test, but then he got suspended for like a month. So that was the end of that.
And it's it, you know, there's an anti-elite sentiment, which in some sense we need because it should be against the rich people. But in some sense, it's like people who are not, you know, maybe not as fortunate, or it's just like, you know, it's like you're feeling resentment against people who are smart and want to help you actually, and right, and know how to do it, but you don't want to do what they you know, I'm not going to do what you told me to do. I don't. Yeah, just because
doctor,
I don't like you.
The pilot of this plane with their fancy learning, the people should fly the plane.
Exactly.
Let me fly the plane. I could do it.
Right.
So
I'm not going to listen to no doctors and you know, tell me to take a vaccine.
But I think you had a good point there because I think they are conflating elite with intellectual, and America
is being made on purpose.
Yep. But America has always, from its entire history, had a deep anti-intellectual streak. Like,
not during, I'd say, you know, from the end of World War II through the 80s.
Well, there was a very brief period where, like, there was this science, futurism, future world. But those people, but even then, there was still a pretty strong anti-intellectual streak of like the common people. But go read about like what Europe thought about America in the 1700s, in the 1800s, and Europe is just like, look at those dum-dums over there being stupid.
I'm saying, you know, there were some decades where there were many heroes, not who are to some extent American, or anti-heroes who are some extent American, who were scientists, inventors of some kind, usually white dudes, right? And there were others who were not white dudes who did not get credit, but they still existed. Right. And it switched, I'd say, in the later 80s, 90s, to where the law, instead of actual academic, intelligent, inventor, science people, right? I'd say like maybe Stephen Hawking was like the last one.
It's all capital people. What they bring to the table is capital.
It's you know, Steve Jobs got the credit, not Steve Woz, is what I'm saying.
Like,
right?
look at the Wright brothers. Wright brothers are a great example.
Weird guy. I don't want to hold him up like some fucking Einstein or anything. But it's like the dude did basically make a computer that was smaller and cheaper. He did an actual technological advancement. Right. And it's like, what did Steve Jobs do?
We should not be distributing.
Right.
We should not be distributing access to the capability of society based on who has capital. We should be distributing it based on almost anything else.
Right. And it's like, was Thomas Edison evil? Did he actually invent the light bulb first, or the patents, etc.? We know, but it's like, he did invent.
Well, like case in point, the Wright brothers and flying. The Wright brothers did not have capital. Barely, they couldn't get anyone to invest in them. You know what they did? They personally tested and learned how to fly planes on their own in a field.
Right.
But
These are all
anyway,
the white dudes who got credit, but you get my point.
But I'll link to because one example of this. So the Trump has banned Harvard from enrolling foreign students, which is just like obviously illegal, like just crazy. So the news is that the federal court, has blocked that order because it's insane. And of course, this will go to the Supreme Court. But Harvard, there are very few institutions in America who have such access to powerful lawyers as Harvard University.
They make it's the lawyer factory.
It's the lawyer factory with an endowment bigger than God.
Yeah, you're going after the lawyer factory with the law. It's like,
But Harvard is not just fighting back with that machine, and they are, and that's what this link is. My second link is they did something kind of sneaky. So Harvard, if you don't know, for a long time, has a number of legit university classes that you can just take online for free.
Most universities do these days.
Yeah, the Harvard ones are really good, and I just never thought much about them.
They're Harvard classes.
I mean, I'm taking one right now.
For all the bullshit, the correct bullshit that you can call out on elite universities and their admissions and their status or whatever, but it's like, if you go to those places for whatever negative things you want to correctly say about them, high quality academic things go on there.
Yep.
Right.
So what Harvard has done is they added a filter and they publicized this, and they didn't say this was in response to the administration coming after them or the rise of fascism. But suddenly there's a whole collection of classes that weren't free or listed before that are all about public duty, public policy, government structure, influencing government, citizen politics, how to shift public opinion, how the government is formed, all the things that people who actually want to fight back need to know, that a lot of people, even if they are very smart and very much on the right side of history, we've seen this with some people we know, they don't actually know enough about how politics and government work to effectively engage.
Nobody who needs these classes is going to take them.
I do think though, there are people who listen to Geek Nights who should probably take a couple of these classes, because I'm taking one right now. The one I am taking, I skipped some of the easier ones, and I took the fourth one in one of the series. It is called U.S. Public Policy, Social, Economic, and Foreign Policy, and it is about how United States public policy is formed and the results of public policy. This class so far is pretty fantastic, and it takes about the same level of investment as Duolingo if you actually stay on top of Duolingo.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been able to. I tried to do, some like computer classes and things online to, add to my existing knowledge. And it's like when you have those, like the structure of a college course at the, when I'm not actually in college is just really hard. I don't have the discipline to
so I
go
weirdly
through all the lessons and watch the.
So I actually weirdly do. And the only reason I haven't done this before is that I don't have a lot of free time, and also my job is actually occupies my brain quite a bit. But I'm taking one of these. I've signed up for a couple more. I'm actually going to pay for some classes in the second half of the year. And there's one really interesting thing they're offering now, and it costs money to do this one, but I think I'm going to do it, and I think I can get my company to pay for it. It is a public leadership credential. And it's like you get a Harvard certificate out of it. And what it is it teaches the advanced, and it's an advanced course in how public policy works and how to form and action public policies. And I'm doing this partly because, in my career, I've always worked in the private sector. I'm a product manager for private companies. I've never worked for governments. As much as I talk about wanting to change things in government and in public policies, my professional expertise is entirely in the private sector, and they are not the same. So this class is designed to teach someone who knows about these kinds of things the public side of it. And I found that a lot of the very powerful people I have met in my career have degrees or experience in public leadership, not just private. So I want to get the same, and this won't even cost that much money. So I think I'm going to do it.
I think if you want to influence, public policy, the best thing to get in on
have a pile of money. That's the best way to do it.
That's obviously the number one way. The number two way, at least that I, besides actually, running and winning, which is too difficult and pain in the ass, or my favorite way, being appointed, which is also difficult because you either have to be evil or you have to be so high. If the bad guys win, you have to be evil to get appointed, and if the good guys win, you have to be so highly credentialed to get appointed. It's like it's not going to be us. But I think after all those options are away, is you can be one of those think tanky places.
Yeah.
Right? And you can be one of it's like, there's a lot of times like state legislatures or right is like they pass laws that like someone else wrote. It's like, look at all those people that wrote the evil Project 2025 or whatever, right? It's like, you could make a thing where we write Project 2029 and it's got all the good shit in it.
Yeah.
Right? And then it's like, the legislators don't write all their legislation by hand, right? It's like that's coming from lobbyists, it's coming from outside places, it's coming from think tanks, and then they amend it, things like that. And if you can do that, I think that's an effective mechanism for someone who doesn't want to do the other options that we already mentioned.
This program actually lines up with that pretty nicely because its main goal, like the thing it says, is this is intended to give you the essential tools to direct and drive evidence-based policies. They had leverage personal experience and values. Oh, where is that?
Yeah,
developed by Harvard University.
You first need the policy of just being evidence-based. That's the problem. We don't have that one. It's the first one. It's like, oh, great. You made evidence-based policies. We're not evidence-based.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
But this is intended to give people who want to enact change the, quote, skills and knowledge necessary to advance the public good and make an immediate impact on their communities.
Right. Anyway, getting back to the original thing, I think the way to sum it up is if you're playing Civilization, any Civ 1 through 7, right? Can you imagine if it's a multiplayer game?
Yep.
Right?
Not playing against some AI.
And you just turn science, you just destroy your libraries, destroy your universities, turn science down to zero, right? Just no money for science. We're not going to bother making any beakers. We're going to make Elvises, and then every other country turns science up. Who is going to win this game of Civilization? Yep,
that's when Alex rolls his battleship past my Stone Age capital and doesn't say a word. I just know that I got to accept whatever trade deal.
It is a lose on purpose strategy, which is what I keep saying, which is they're not dumb. They are evil on purpose. They are trying to make America lose on purpose.
Yep.
Evil.
So you got any bagel-related news?
I do. So if you come to New York City, we're famous for the bagels, and rightfully so. Though people, I think, have begun. It's not just bagels. I think worldwide, people have learned that it's not the water. It's not whatever it is. Not just bagels, but any kind of food. Right? The quality of food is following the actual fucking recipe and not fucking with it, right? Doing things properly. And so you're seeing legit bagels show up in places that aren't New York. You're seeing legit pizzas show up in places that aren't New York.
Yep.
We've seen legit sushis show up in places that aren't Japan, though the closeness and freshness of the fish matters in those cases. But, lots of foods that normally you could only get the real deal in a certain place. They're like, oh, you can only get the tacos in Mexico or California. It's like, well, we got tacos numero uno now, right? Because they're following the recipe and making them properly. There's, food can taste the way it tastes, and geography only limits it so much when we can transport, ingredients over great distances quickly. And so one of the best places in New York for bagel was Utopia Bagels. And it's called Utopia Bagels not because of its utopia, although it may bring about a utopia if everyone ate one. It's because there's a road called Utopia Turnpike. And that is where, since longer than I've been alive, since the early 80s, there has been Utopia Bagels. I've eaten it. It is hyped as one of the best bagels. It's legitimately the best bagel. I've eaten them in the 80s, right? Yeah. I don't eat them that often because that's way out east from where we are.
Yeah, that's why I tend to get my bagels at Zucker's.
Yeah. But anyway, Utopia Bagels in 2024, for the first time, opened a second location in Manhattan. Right. And I can tell you the bagels at that location are the same as the original location. The news is that they have opened up a third location just like a week or two ago. Right, the third ever location of Utopia Bagels in Long Island City. Rim can just walk there right now.
It's like
it's close,
right by our house. It's like a 5-minute walk.
I can bike there in a few minutes. It's not far, and they're like the Sest tier bagel. Right, it'd be hard. It would if you could find a bagel that's just as good and like maybe but a few places. But it's like it might as well be. I'm not going to say it's the best bagel on earth, but it might as well be.
But the important thing is too, because I live in LIC and there are not great bagels here. There haven't been.
There are.
Now there are, but there weren't.
That cannot be beat there.
When we moved here, there was a bagel place that disappeared, and there was Bricktown. And Bricktown has been there forever and got worse and worse and worse to the point that I will not get food from there anymore.
Yeah. I mean, where I live in Astoria up here, we have plenty of bagel places, and some of them are very solid, very good. I eat them great, but they're not Utopia Bagels.
Yeah.
Utopia Bagel is special, really extra good, perfect bagel.
Well,
so
a bunch of bagel places have opened all at once, so I think the secondary story here is Bricktown Bagel is effed.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason any other bagel place that opens near a Utopia Bagels just don't even bother.
Well, the only problem is Utopia Bagel has lines down the street and around the block.
You have to go early, or you got to wait, or
Yeah, well, they open at 6 a.m. Oh my God! I found a photo of at the open at 6 a.m. and there's a line of people waiting to get in.
Rightfully so. It's worth it. It's worth it. Yes. In other news, I had a second news. What was it? Oh, right. So, today is June 29th, and you have to be aware that this week is not a very exciting week, right? Next week is an insane week, right? Next week on the 5th, so a week from today, is the release of the Switch 2. Right? And then the day after that, on June 6th, on Friday, there are 3 movies premiering in the movie theater all at once. Right? So you've got the Ballerina, John Wick spinoff, whatever, right? Is it going to be as good? You know, John Wick's probably only in it for like a minute. It's a side story. They're trying to cash in on the franchise.
They're trying to make the John Wick universe an expanded universe.
Exactly. It might not be a good movie, but really, who gives a shit? Go see it anyway.
Yeah.
It could be terrible. I didn't even like John Wick 4 that much, but it doesn't matter. Interesting news about this, right? That only nerds like me will care about. There is this girl from Girls' Generation, Soo Young, right? I saw in the news that she was somehow related to the movie. And I'm like, oh, is she like dubbing the Korean dub or something, right? It's like, no, she's actually in the movie. Like, she's not the main character, obviously, but she's like some girl that's like getting rescued or something like that, right? Who's like in the beginning or some shit. And I'm like, oh, that's actually really rare, right? For some K-pop person who doesn't really have a huge acting resume and is just, one of the least famous members of the group is in a Hollywood movie. Good job, their agent, I guess, right? And it made me think, like, would you rather, right? It's like there are people who are in Girls' Generation who are like stars, like leading actors in Korean movies, like big movies, but Korean. Would you rather be a star in a Korean movie or like a lesser part in a Hollywood movie?
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you that the person who is the star in Korean movies is making more money.
Yeah.
A lot. So, okay. Anyway, the 2 other movies, you got the new Wes Anderson film. Yeah, the Phoenician whatever.
We're probably going to go see it in one of the like fancy theaters.
Yeah. And then there's also Don Da Don, right? They've been doing that thing. They did it for the first season where I guess like the first few episodes were a movie in the theater and then the rest of then the whole TV show comes out of Netflix and now it's the second season. So I think there's a thing that's going to be in the theater on June 6th, which I'm going to assume, I didn't actually get the info. I think it's just a compilation of the first few episodes of the new season. But I'll probably just wait till it be on. I don't think I need to go see it.
Also, a game that we've been waiting for forever. Well, I've been waiting for forever. Deltarune originally launched 2 chapters, and there's supposed to be 4 chapters. The first 2 chapters, you can just play them free.
The Undertale sequel thingy?
Yep. So the release date for that is June 4th.
Okay.
It's a big week.
There's a bunch of nerdy shit going on next week. It's out of control.
But anyway, things of the day. So this is one of the music videos that won an award at the Asifa East Film Festival. And what I like about it, the reason I made it my thing of the day is twofold. One, it really evokes the style of those old Flash animations that would be on the internet that you'd all pass around, everyone would laugh at, and they'd be kind of a big thing because entertainment on the internet was hard to come by back then, and Flash was still sort of a novel thing. But two, it's already entered our household lexicon in that I find myself quoting it quite a bit because it has the perfect structure of it's the joke that goes in 3 escalating sets of 3s. Like it is structured in that like classic structure of take a joke, double down on it, then have the finale to it. It's very well constructed. And the premise of I'm going to eat an entire pizza and the fact that this is described in the song as taking 30 minutes repeatedly, I feel like it's going to take 30 minutes is something I'm going to say a lot, and only me and Emily are going to laugh, and you're going to have to deal with that for the rest of your life.
All right. So, thing of the day. So, we like it when someone does a little Trojan horse media.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Where they package one thing inside another thing, right? And so there's this YouTube channel, Real Japan, and it's these 2 dudes who are in Japan. One dude is actually, I think, half Thai, half Japanese, and the other guy is just a Japanese guy. And they made this YouTube channel like 4 months ago or so, I want to say. And they almost have 1 million subscribers now. So you might have seen this already. Yeah. They have 1 million subscribers. But the packaging on the outside is that they're teaching Japanese language, right? Kind of. Mm-hmm. And they are doing some tongue twisters and it's language focused, right? Like, how do you say this in Japanese, right? And it's like, right, the jokes are like, why are there like, all these completely different Japanese words, they're all the same word. It's like one of the skits was like, kakeru means like 20 different things.
Yeah,
right?
I think the one I saw where I learned this existed was the one around school, like the thing that also means anus, and how the guy just laughs every time he says it. Yep.
So that's a funny joke. That also the guy on the left, the Japanese guy, has S-tier facial expressions that never get old. And I think that's the part of most of the reason for their success is everyone just like look at that guy's face. It's just funny every time. But what is this a Trojan horse for? It is a Trojan horse for Manzai. This is a Manzai sketch. They don't come out and say it, but that's what it is. There's a straight guy and there's a funny guy like an Abbott and a Costello, but it's Japanese. And it's like they are really selling you on Manzai humor in English, a lot like, what was the one we saw at Otakon? What's that called again?
Oh, God. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I am
Rakugo. It's sort of like, the guy did Rakugo in English, and this is, Manzai in English. And so even though I don't care about learning Japanese language, it's like.
But I love me a Manzai.
Yeah, this is a really funny YouTube channel.
In the meta moment, at the end of the month, we will do the Book Club book, Everything for Everyone, an oral history of the New York Commune, 2052 to 2072. Otherwise, expect us to be at PAX West and MagFest. Dates were announced, so try to get your hotels before they...
We know the dates for every PAX for the next year. We know the dates for West, Labor Day weekend, obviously, at least in the U.S. We know the dates for Unplugged, which I don't have in front of me right now, but you can go to unplugged.packsite.com. You can also... East next year is going to be late March, east.packsite.com. And the dates for MagFest are... I know that January 11th is the last day, so it must be 11, 10, 9, 8, 8 through 11, because it's a 4-day con. And my work decided to schedule their work event in the other side of the country, in Canada. So like Victoria, British Columbia. And they said it's going to start on the 12th. So basically, I'm probably going to just bail MagFest on Sunday and spend Sunday flying across the country.
I mean, instead. I don't do it. I haven't done it as much since I changed my current job, but with my old job, There were a lot of MagFests and PAXs where I would like fly in direct to PAX from like Paris or something, or leave PAX early on Sunday to fly over to Europe or Asia or something. So
I mean, welcome to
the party.
And the last time I worked, they did it in September in California. So I went to PAX West, and then I just went to Portland for like a week, and then went, and it was nicely spaced, right? Here, it's like, I gotta go immediately. There's no space in between.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, the one time that happened where when I was enforcing as a deputy manager in the live streaming team, and it was a good PAX East, but I landed from Paris at like 10 or 11 at night, the night before PAX started, fucking wrecked by the time I got to the hotel, and I almost got bumped from my flight while I was in Paris. I actually had to explain to the airport, look, I'm flying to a conference and giving a talk. If I'm delayed, I won't be able to give my talk. And that convinced them to actually keep me on the flight and bump somebody else. They didn't need to know it was just a video game con. All right, let's get into it. House plants are something I appreciate more with every year of my life that I spend.
Yeah, have we done a show, I think, on like gardening or...
We've never done a show on house plants.
No.
I don't think we've ever done a show on gardens either. We've done walled gardens and salad.
Okay. But yeah, so when you don't have a house with a yard, you can't really do gardening the traditional way with actual dirt in the ground.
Yep, we do little gardening with like sacks of dirt and like we have containers with dirt to grow like tomatoes and things on the balcony.
Yeah, but that's a houseplant. It's inside in a pot.
No, it's not inside. It's outside on the balcony.
It's not in the ground of the earth.
We made ground. We elevated the ground. We put ground out there.
No, it's not in the dirt. It's not gardening. It has to be. Houseplants are in a pot. If it's in a pot, it's a houseplant.
What if it's not in a pot? It's in a giant bag that's full of dirt.
It's a bag pot. It's not.
It's a bag, not a pot. You're saying bags and pots are the same thing?
The point is, houseplants are great. I used to, houseplants were not a thing that I thought about or cared about when I was young. I just wanted to play video games, do nerdy shit, right?
And we had houseplants. There were houseplants all over our house, but I never thought much about them when I was young because my parents just took care of them like it was just part of the house, like any other part of the house. I never thought about it.
And it's like if I didn't care about them. It wasn't like,
Well, when I started thinking about them was occasionally when I was young, we'd visit someone's house and it would be a house where there were 0 houseplants. And I always remember that like would stand out as like there's no plants. Like it's weird. It's always weird to be in a house.
Even like you don't have to have a ton of them, just like but it's like just like one random one here or there.
Yeah, like you just expect them to be there.
Yeah. But it's like houseplants. When you get older, you start to enjoy them, right?
Yep.
One thing about them that is very enjoyable, even if they're not, for example, like beautiful flowering kinds.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our houseplants are just like a spider plant or something.
Right. Is that they grow and change. And so hopefully, even if they die, right? It's a changing thing that's like in your home. And so you can see it like over time. And so even though it doesn't have it's not like a pet or a child, but you can sort of have this, mental relationship with it, like as it, like you remember it when it was small and now it's big.
Yep.
It's like,
or dangerous. Like I remember my grandma had a little sort of tree thing that got to the point to where it grew up and hit the ceiling and then started curving over and we didn't know what to do with it at that point.
Yeah, but it's like, or you just look at it and it's different than before. And it's interesting and novel, right? And fun. There's something just enjoyable about that, right? Whereas a plastic plant ain't going to get it done.
Yep. Well, also they add this subtle, like, I do feel very strongly that there's something deep in like mammal brains, including humans, where if you're not around plants and greenery at all for too long, I think it does mess us up a little bit because for almost all of history, we evolved in those kinds of environments. And it's weird to be in environments where they are not present, just like it's weird to be in environments with no exterior windows or light whatsoever. I think it fucks us up.
I think one thing is that you studies show that the air quality greatly improves.
Yeah, it's
indoors.
way more than you'd think. Like as a kid, I always knew, like,
lot.
oh yeah, houseplants improve air quality. That makes sense, but how much could it be? It's actually a lot. And depending on the plant, it could be a big deal. There's a mechanic near our apartment in Long Island City, and for as long as we've lived here, since 2009, whenever their doors are open, you can see inside this mechanic. The entire ceiling of the entire giant garage is filled with plants.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very obvious they've done this to try to improve the air quality inside of this noxious garage.
Yeah, I mean, it works. There's studies, I think, that I've read at least once. I don't have a link right now, but it's like, yeah, you put the right kind of plants in an office and like, it's better. People are more productive and happier, and it's better. And
I think it's a combination.
There's less carbon dioxide in the office.
Yep. I mean, they make oxygen. Just get some free oxygen. like that old skit of like, get some potatoes, put them in the ground, more potatoes, just free. Look at this scam.
So that's definitely, you want to have, even if you hate houseplants and don't get joy from them, I feel like you should get some, even if you think they're going to die, right? You're not going to take care of them. It's like, okay, fine. They're not expensive unless you get fancy ones, rare ones or whatever, right? So just get one that's good at making oxygen and is hard to kill, and just get it. And then if it dies, fine, go buy another one. And
that's actually something I've never understood. So many people, it's such a common trope in America, will say they have a black thumb or like, oh, I just can't keep houseplants. And meanwhile, like, it's hard to kill a spider plant if you want to kill it. Like
old grandmas who can't tell real news from fake news can get like amazing houseplants.
There are a lot of houseplants.
They're not even following YouTube advice like I am either.
Yeah, that will like survive pretty much anything. Like if you forget about them for a month, they'll just be fine somehow. Like what fucking houseplants are you buying, or how toxic is the environment you live in?
I don't know. But yeah, taking care of houseplants, I think there is one, there's a guy on YouTube. If you do want to get YouTube advice, there's a Sheffield, I think something. It's a UK guy, and his YouTube channel is, I would say, one of the best ones for doing houseplant stuff and real information. And the best advice I got from his channel is that, obviously underwatering is a problem, right? Yep. You need to water the plants.
Oh, but most people overwater, and that's what kills their plants.
So the question is, how much is the right amount of watering, right? And it's like, look, it's not like fucking chemistry where it's got to be like this fucking exactly the right time. The plant does, it's like, or exactly the right amount. It's like, it's not that precise, right? If a plant is out in the wild, it's just getting random rain and it's doing great. So what you have to do is you look at the plant and you say, does the plant look like it's real sad? If it's real sad and you haven't watered it in a long time, then it's probably, if it's like, thin, right, and then kind of falling over, it's like, oh, it needs water. It looks thirsty, right? But overwatering, it's like, well, the thing with overwatering is that overwatering is not about the quantity of water. You could take a plant that needs watering, it's thirsty, you just put it under, like get a hose and just fucking shower it, right? Just drench it with so much fucking water, right? Like completely saturate the dirt. And as long as the dirt has the correct drainage for the plant, it's like, it doesn't matter how much water. What matters for overwatering is how frequently. If you drench it every freaking day, that's going to overwater.
Yeah.
Right? But if you drench it like crazily when it's thirsty once in a while, that's fine. Good.
But and I think this is a big problem for a lot of people don't learn the basics of potting a plant, which also is not that hard. And you can like one YouTube video and you'll be good to go. So like
take dirt, put plant in dirt.
Usually you got to have a layer of stones or something at the bottom for drainage. There's got to be drainage depending on the plant.
It depends on it. Most plants that are houseplants, you want to have good drainage. And that means that when the water goes in, it mostly comes out. The dirt becomes moist and saturated, but it's not like a swimming pool or a pond in the pot. Imagine if the pot was sealed at the bottom, it would become like a festering pond with like algae growing in it and shit, right? And when that happens, the roots get too soggy and rotted, and that ruins most houseplants. And so drainage basically means, you water it and the dirt gets wet, but then all the extra water comes out the bottom and goes away.
So
and so to get good drainage, rim, one good idea, rocks at the bottom, holes in the bottom of the pot, essential, obviously, because the rocks ain't going to do anything.
That's why most pots have this like dish that sits under them. They're like two parts. They're not just one big part, or if they're one big part, it's a complicated fancy pot. A lot of shitty pots people will buy like online from shitty places will look like a pot, but aren't structured like that and like don't have holes. Or like they'll look like they have a dish on the bottom, but it's fake and there's no hole.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the soil you choose, you have to, if you got succulents, buy, you can make soil. YouTube will tell you how to do that, mixing sand and parts, peat, whatever.
You could buy soil. It's not that expensive. You don't need that much for houseplants.
Buy the soil, and it's like, is your plant a succulent? If you're not sure, Google it, and then buy succulent soil. Is it not a succulent? Is it maybe like at the garden store? The bags say what kind of plant the soil is for.
Yep. Just like flour. There's bread flour, regular flour. Like buy the right one.
It doesn't take a genius to do this.
But I kind of bucket houseplants into three broad categories in terms of like how much care they got. On one side, there's things like spider plants. They'll grow, even if you try to kill them, like they'll somehow survive. Like mess up the soil, water them the wrong amount. Somehow they'll outlive your family and generations of your family. We've got some spider plants that have been around this earth for a very, very long time. Then on the other end, there are what I consider the specialist plants. These are like, we had that lemon tree for a while. These are plants that require a regimen of expert, precise, specialized care and are prone to parasites that are difficult to treat. Like fruit trees are difficult in this way, especially indoors. People who are into the weed, cannabis plants, very fussy like that, very easy to kill by accident. These are plants that are designed for certain purposes, and often they have been cultivated, like the cultivars you would plant are maximizing the attributes humans care about, but at the expense of resiliency, compared to, say, a spider plant that will survive like a nuclear war. And then in the middle, you've got plants that you can't just ignore, but you need to Google the name of the plant once, read one page that tells you the basics of what to do, and just do what that page says, and the plant's going to be fine.
Yep. So the one thing I think people don't do when they got a house plant, right, even if they're watering properly, and I didn't do it for a long time, which is pruning. How I learned. Pruning, right? And so it's like, the thing with pruning is a little scary. Like you're chopping up the plant and you're like, I'm going to kill it by chopping it all up. Right. And it's like, listen, if this plant, let's say this plant was out in the wild and like, an animal came and whacked it, and then a storm came and blasted it, and then a tree log branch fell off and hit it and damaged it. Would it die? Probably not. Right? Even though it would be all fugly, right? So what's pruning all about? And so what pruning is that, a lot of house plants, what happens is they'll get really, what people will say is leggy. And what they mean when they say it's leggy is that like the trunks or the stems, are getting really long, and the plant is like reaching, and the plant, it's like, it's, it basically, it's kind of ugly, and, the plant just kind of flops all over. You want, a beautiful plant generally is considered, you might consider a leggy plant to be beautiful, but it's generally bushy, right? Lots of leaves that are close together, and it's nice and dense and fluffy and shrub-like. Right? And so when a plant, the best example of pruning is the jade plant, right? Which is, you've seen a jade plant. If you don't know what that is, Google it. You'll see a picture, immediately. And the thing with the jade plant is that if you chop it on its stem, the point where you chop it, what'll happen is it'll branch 2 times, right? And so if you just let a jade plant grow by itself, I've done this, right? It'll just go straight up with one stem like a tree, and it won't make branches. It'll just be this one long guy right, straight up into the air with leaves all around it, and it doesn't do well. And I've had that because I didn't know about pruning. If you cut it, what'll happen is from that spot, don't cut all the leaves. You need some leaves to get sunlight, common sense. But at that spot where you cut, it'll branch 2 ways. And then you cut again, and those branch 2 ways, and cut and keep doing that. And suddenly, instead of being one long guy, right, it's nice and going around different directions. And if you just keep at it for a very long time, then you'll have a nice bushy kind of plant.
Which leads to, if you care about your houseplants, Google, like, learn the thing like that for whatever plants you happen to have. And then, like, if the plant's acting weird or having a problem, usually you will be able to find detailed explanations from experts on exactly what the deal is. Like, oh, the leaves are curling this way for this plant. This means that. Here's what to do to fix it.
Yeah. Now, if you're a person whose houseplants are your hobby, you're going to have a lot of them. You're going to have a variety of different kinds. You're going to have rare ones, expensive ones. You're going to take cuttings and make new ones. You can do all this stuff. It's going to take up a lot of your time to where it's a hobby to do every day. You got to manage the houseplants because you just got so many. But if you're a normal person, right, and you just have a few near the windows or whatever, it's like once every week. You don't have to think about them the vast majority of the time. I think about the houseplants like once every week or two. It's like it's not a heavy lift if you don't get too many. So don't get too many.
The listener's also pointing out, which is something that we've done too, especially in cities, there's a lot of plant exchanges where you can just show up with cuttings of like your spider plants, and other people will have cuttings of all their plants, and you can just swap cuttings around. And
I have swapped plants with people in the city on more than one occasion.
Yep. You really don't need to buy most common houseplants. You will easily be able to find a way to have them in your house for free as long as you have a pot to put them in.
And the patience to let it grow, right?
Yep.
If you want a plant that's big already, you have to kind of buy it or wait for it to grow. Right?
Yep.
If you get cuttings, it's like, here, have one leaf for free. It's like, now you got to wait a few years and then you'll have a good plant. So that there is a reason to buy plants if you want it to be big already.
Yeah. So we in the living room, we have like we have one like little tree in one area, and then the main window, we've just covered it in a whole bunch of different houseplants. So like the window's just the green window. And then in the studio, I think I can point the stream at it. In the window there, Emily's got a hydroponics thing growing little Thai peppers to eat, and we're growing wheatgrass for the rabbit.
I got mostly, I got a snake plant. I got some peperomia. I got some, a friend of ours gave a long time ago, before they moved to the other side of the world, gave me like one tiny piece of like one plant. And like, it's called the mother of thousands. It's like, it grows, and then the leaves of the plant grow like tiny plants all around the edges. You'll see if you look it up what it looks like.
Yep.
And
you've definitely seen this plant.
It spawns clones of itself. Like, it's just lousy with clones all over the place. It doesn't do seeds. It just makes clones of itself on its leaves, and then they fall off, and they already have roots on them ready to go grow somewhere. And so it's like, unless you purposefully try to kill these things, you'll just have them, because it's like, yeah, the plant you were growing died, but all these clones fell into the dirt, and they're going. You'd have to like never water it to run out of these. So I still have them. And then I guess I got jade plant.
Yep.
And, mostly, these succulent types that are low maintenance and whatever. And all I do is basically, I've learned to do the pruning recently. I didn't know that for a long time. But I just, when they looking thirsty, I actually put them in the sink. And because I don't have a hose. I could go outside with the hose, but it's a lot of work. And then I just drown them in the sink, and then I make sure all the water is drained out, and I put the little dish underneath in case there's more water, and then I put it back where it goes, and that's it. Oh, and I also have the little yucca tree, which is basically just, a big one.
I feel like if I didn't have a job at all, one of the things I would do is try to maintain a little bonsai. But
oh yeah.
But I do not. That is something to do when I do not have a job.
The thing with the bonsai is it's like it takes a while, right? Depending on which kind you do. And I feel like if I started now, which I could.
Oh, then you'd have a really good one when you're retired.
Yeah, but it's like it still wouldn't be that great even when I'm old man. It's like most of the good ones you see are like 50-year ones or some shit like that. And it's like, I feel like you got to inherit one.
Ah, that's the pro move, because then someone else did the first 50 years, and then you can handle the next 50 years.
But at the same time, it's like, I want to do mine. I don't want to do someone else's, I don't know.
All right.
I don't know that I don't know that much about bonsai besides looking at it, enjoying it, and that they use wires to, force the shape of the plant.
I when we were way back when we went to ski in Colorado, we got flights to Denver instead of directly to Eagle Airport. So we figured, we'll poke around Denver a little bit, and the botanical garden had a really good bonsai section.
Every
there.
botanical garden I've ever been to, no matter where it is on Earth,
Yep.
what kind of, it's like they always have a crazy ass bonsai section,
Yep.
and it's like if these are the ones the bonsai nerds are giving to the botanical gardens, right? What are they keeping in their houses?
I as a total aside, I love botanical gardens. Like they are. If you are somehow listening to this,
plants, though, that's every. It's okay. Every botanical garden I've been to seems to have every plant.
Yep.
It's like they got a cactus section.
The Brooklyn one is one of the best in the world too. Like, god damn, does that have entire ecosystems of plants you can walk through?
They got a rose garden.
I haven't been out there in a while. I should head out there.
They got sakura trees.
Yup.
Yeah, every. It's like they all got this. It's like, I don't know how they. And it's like you're sitting there and you're like, I live really close to this crazy botanical garden, and it's like, okay, I can't expect to grow the things that they've got in greenhouses, right? But you look at the stuff that they have just outside, sitting outside in the weather, and your house is down the road from them, and it's like, how come they can grow all that crazy shit there, and I can't even get something from the department?
I think part of the answer is there are multiple people whose full-time job is plant at a place like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Imagine you had a butler who dealt with all your plants, and you were like, I'd like more spider plants.
Yes, but if you buy non-fancy houseplants for indoors, and you have a window and sunlight comes in, or you buy a lamp because sunlight doesn't come in,
yep,
you can do it. It's not.
Yeah.
And it's worth doing.
If you've never had a houseplant, just go Google, look around for anyone in your area. They'll give you a spider plant cutting, and you'll have more spider plants than you could ever